Here is my HP something something laptop. I am having severe issues with it, and you can see these weird little dips here. The processor goes from actual proper frequency to this. And it does it over and over and over again. And here is where the temperature monitor is. Now, yes, this computer is hot, but it's also thermal throttling itself when it's actually gotten itself down to a proper temperature. Because as you saw, it went from 190 and it was playing completely fine at 190, and then went to 170 and became completely unplayable. As you can tell, it's doing this over and over again. And if you watch any of the previous videos, or at least I believe the last upload, you saw this computer running AI Girl is the easiest term for me to place it. It's a Japanese fun time game. And this computer was incredibly hot. And yet it didn't do this throughout that whole gameplay. And yet here it is with freaking Gaijin Impact having these issues. And you think it's because it's on battery power? Let me plug it into the wall. Let me grab the charger for it. You would think plugging it into the wall would resolve these issues. As you can tell, it's done nothing. There's something wrong with HP's BIOS. That's the only thing I could think of. Because this computer can absolutely run hot. It's done that in the past. This thing has easily gotten to 203 degrees Fahrenheit and still kept trucking along. Granted, that was at the TDP point of the computer, but it still was chugging along just fine. And it seems like now it has finally calmed down. But as you can tell, it's at 194 degrees Fahrenheit. It looks to be keeping itself sustained there. And the game hasn't chugged since. So maybe plugging into the wall did resolve the issue. But still, it's not working completely fine. And I'm getting full utilization of the GPU. I'm getting about 50 or so of the CPU, which is to be expected. So let's go back into here and just run around for a bit. Out of all the videos I uploaded, I think this is probably the best one that captures every single aspect from the processor's frequency to the core temperature and whatnot. I'm guessing maybe plugging it into the wall did resolve the issue. I don't know. Because again, this thing's at 180 degrees Fahrenheit, which is again stupid hot. And yet it's not, and yet the core frequency is staying basically normal-ish. I mean, it's going all over the place to keep itself cool, but generally speaking, it's still maintaining itself, and it's not dying like you saw earlier in the video. Now to see what will really happen is I'm going to put this back into full screen mode, because obviously I'm going to play my games in full screen. And then we're going to see what happens. Excuse me. I don't know. The only thing I can think of that could be causing this issue is HP's poor implementation of the current BIOS that's on this laptop. And unfortunately, I don't know how to get into the advanced BIOS. And even if I could get into the advanced BIOS, I don't know if I could tweak this thing to where it could actually be in a playable state to where this issue is no more. But as you can tell, this computer absolutely has issues. And unfortunately, these issues are far above my knowledge and skill base. But I can clearly tell that there is something fundamentally wrong with this computer. Again, most likely has to be due to some type of tuning and power delivery that HP has implemented in this laptop here. And like I said, I have no idea how to get into the advanced BIOS. And I have no idea if even going into the advanced BIOS would resolve this issue in the first place. But with that said, since Genshin Impact seems to be in full working order now, let's try Minecraft again. And of course, here's Minecraft. And if I tab out, you can see that it's still incredibly hot. So let's actually go into the Anarchy server of my choice. Old Fig. This is my base on Old Fig. It's a piece of junk, it's ugly, and I basically ripped off housing from, I ripped off Achievement City, back when Achievement Hunter was actually good. But, even though this is an Anarchy server, every single building you see in here was hand-built by me. I didn't use any stupid modifications in Impact. All that you see right here is hand-done by me. The only automation I did was to gather the stone for this goddamn fucking house. But, well, the house and the wall you see right here covering my base and whatnot. But, as you can tell, Minecraft is also running completely fine as it should. I'm getting very nice, stable, beautiful frame rate. And Minecraft is running exactly as it should. Now, what are the temperatures? Now, obviously, since I'm playing Minecraft, the temperatures are a lot lower, but they're still pretty freaking hot. And Minecraft itself is, well, in the processor stretches its legs a little bit more, but still all over the place. But, as you can tell, Minecraft is now absolutely functioning as it should. And press F for that base, it's going to get nuked. Leaking cords in an Anarchy server for our base is the best way to get killed. So that's what, the 4th base they made. I think they probably have like 5 or 6 on this base, not base, but on this server spread throughout and whatnot. What is that, 8? Ugh, 8 mil. I'm poor in this game, so if I wanted to go to that base, it would easily take a month. But I'm not going to leave my crap base. I still want to improve upon it, fix some stuff. I still have yet to actually finish the Achievement Hunter logo. Again, there's other things I want to do to this base, and I kind of want to keep it and stay here for as long as it stays up. I have no idea how long it's going to stay up, but it'll eventually get killed. And I even added the traditional little welcome sign. Now since I don't expect people to find this space, it's relatively small. But if people actually manage to find this space and it gets more populated, or at least the signs get more populated, I'll of course expand upon it. But I'm the single soul of this crappy base. And if you're wondering how long this took, it took 3 days to build. And that's again with auto mining for the stone. This house sucks. But, like I said, Minecraft is running completely fine, as you can tell right now. So, just out of pure curiosity, let's unplug it from the wall and see what happens. Okay, everything seems to be in full working order again, as it should, even with it on battery. So, I don't know. There's one more game I want to play, and that is AI Girl. Again, because unlike Genshin Impact and Minecraft, AI Girl is leagues more difficult to run. Even though I'm already trading over the exact same video I just uploaded, I still want to include it in this video just for sanity's sake. So I will come back when this game fully loads up. Now, just like I stated in the original video that includes this game, right here, I'm getting about 13 frames a second in the little start area, where we call it the main menu. Now, due to this game's fantastic modding tools and whatnot, I've managed to do quite a bit to the config files to actually get this game into a playable state. Now, granted, the frame rate's still pretty low, but it's definitely not 13 frames a second. But with that said, it's going to take a little while for the game to actually fully load up because it's on a hard drive, and this computer's not really meant to run a game this heavy. But I just want to prove that even though this computer isn't really technically designed for gaming, it can in fact hold its own if you want it to. And of course, you gotta do significant config file modifications to actually get it to function. But again, this game's more than playable on this computer, even with the frame rate that I have. So with that said, I'll come back when this game fully fully loads up. Alright, now you think Genshin Impact is hard on this computer? This game here is a whole nother beast on its own. And like I said, I do a bunch of modifications to the config files to get this game to actually function on this computer. And as you can tell, I'm getting about 20 or so frames a second. Granted, it's not optimal, but this game is meant to be played one-handed, if you catch the drift. So, technically, high frame rate isn't necessary, but it would be nice. Interesting, I'm actually having frame issues with this game too. I wonder if it's going to persist. Or is it just a one-time thing? Because that is, like I said, that is an issue, and why it's very inconsistent. Is that when it happens, it's very inconsistent. Sometimes it only happens once, or maybe happens twice, or like you saw at the very beginning, over and over and over again. Alright, so yeah, the processor is hot, as it should be, but it's keeping itself pretty toasty with its speed. And I'm guessing that was a one-time thing, or maybe a character decided to wake up and it put a little bit too much of a stress on the computer. That is one of the things this game likes to do, is that like one of the characters wakes up, there's a small little freeze while a character re-wakes up, like that for instance. And that's usually a sign like a character wakes up or something like that, or they're doing an animation or something. I've played this game long enough to know its general I generally know how to play. I generally know how this game works because I played it long enough to know how it functions and whatnot. Granted, though, I really don't partake in the happy fun time portion of this game. And obviously, I'm not going to do that in this video. But this is to show you that this game here is significantly harder to run. And yet, other than that one weird little random frame dip that you saw, it is running completely fine. And I bet she right there is the reason why I had that little frame dip that you just saw. I think one of them's butt naked, so yeah. Yep, definitely one of them's butt naked. Also, I have this. This is an automatic win. What else is there to say? But as you can tell, even with Lady Thickness, this laptop's handling the game just fine. I need some nuggies. I should capture that. I'll do it later. Too bad this game doesn't have McDonald's. And of course, here's where you can truly see the amount of modifications I had to do with this structure right here and how everything just pops into view as you get closer. And this house right here, or whatever it's called, I know it's supposed to be called something in Japanese, but this is a community built house or lot or whatever it is. Same thing with the other two houses that are in here. They're all community built. I unfortunately don't have the skills to build a house, and let alone the actual interface for building a house is a tad cumbersome and a tad clunky. But as you can tell, it's running the game completely fine now. Now, for pure curiosity, let's see what the temperatures are like. Yeah, they are definitely a toasty. Highly a toasty. And yet this computer is functioning completely fine. So, why is this game running completely fine while it's absolutely toasting itself? Again, this is a massive win. Unfortunately, she doesn't have the proper voice and whatnot, but it's a win nonetheless. Might as well. It's mid-May. Well, at least the pathing's not too atrocious. Oh, she's out. I'm only adding this in here just for sake of this video. Hey, do it yourself. There it goes. As you can tell, this game is not really meant to work properly with the FPV, with the first person mod I have installed. But generally speaking, everything does work when it's actually told to for the most part. Let me go and do something. Where is the option? There's the option list. There we go with that. There we go. Now it's daytime again. So with that said, there is one more thing I want to show off when it comes to this game. There is a secondary island called the residential island, and that one's meant for you to build a massive big house and house as many characters that your computer can handle. Now granted, I really can't have that many girls in this game, but I have about 20 or so on that island. And it does kind of stress the computer, and you'll see exactly what I mean by stress. So let me get to that island and come back. Loading in the residential island takes quite a while because, like I said, there's a lot of, well, 20 or so characters, but there's a bit there that takes a little while to load, and you'll see why I classify it. Here is the residential island. It's a lot more difficult to run this than on the main island. And if I bring up the map here, you can see all these little moving purple icons. Those are all the girls I have placed in this particular part of the game. This is the worst case scenario, because this right here is incredibly difficult to run, even on my main gaming rig. But I decided to put it on here also just to see how badly I can push this computer. And as you can tell, other than a few frame freezes here and there, like this for instance, it does become playable. Granted, the frame rate's even worse than it was on the main island, but again, that's to be expected considering there's like, what, 20 characters roaming freely. And what I'll do is I will actually play this game on my main desktop at the very end of this video. For if you're actually wondering what this game is supposed to actually look like when it's not molested like the way it is right now with my current installation on here. Because like I said, I do so many modifications to the config files to get this game into a playable-ish state on this poor little laptop. Now, with that said, I absolutely hear the fan really kicking up, so let's see how hot she is. Oh yeah, she's a toasty one. Let's see, can I bring up the core temp so we can actually see where this thing maxed out at? It maxed out at 210 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot. And yet the thing still booked along without an issue. Uh-oh. Oh, there it goes. Obviously, I have to have a rim. This is a community. This is a community rim. I'm pretty certain there's someone out there that's made a better looking rim than her, but she's the only one I have. And of course, I have to have best girl right there. And I have that one also. I have this one here. Whose name will pop up. You can get the general idea of where she came from. I highly doubt anyone even knows where she came from in the first place. And of course, I got the other sister here. But as you can tell, even this very hard section of the game that I personally set up for this computer here, even this computer runs it fine, as you can tell. Alright, and here is the residential island. Now, if I go open up the map here, all these little purple dots are an AI that's roaming about. And as you saw how this game runs just on the island, this right here is even more harder to run. Because as you can tell, I'm getting about 15, 16, maybe 17 frames a second. And if I go into the house itself, the frame rate can even die even more than that. But generally speaking, it maintains itself. Now this weird smearing you're seeing is due to the fact that this game really isn't designed to have a first person mod like this. Why is my character running? It's meant to be played like this. It's always meant to be played like this. But there is a first person mod like you see right here. And give me a second to change the autofocus. And yes, of course I have to have a license. Of course I have to have a rim. Don't know why her name's wrong, but whatever. You're a rim. You should be able to cook already. The only one that's definitely not going to be able to cook is Miku right here. I actually have the other 4 sisters in my save state in my character list, but obviously I really care for Miku, so Miku's here first. But as you can tell, this is the worst case scenario for this computer and this game. And even though the frame rate's horrible-ish, it's chugging along just fine. It's handling the game just fine. And I got a Miss Teasy right there also. Don't let Twitter see this video. They'll go freaking berserk if they see her in this game. But as you can tell, this computer is handling this just fine. I would like to have higher frame rate, but again, this is more than what I could ever expect from this computer. That's Mikamo. Kamo, I pronounce her name? I can't remember how to pronounce her name. But yeah, I mean, even worst case scenario, which is again this island here, is more than playable. Again, the frame rate's pretty horrible, but this is technically playable for what this game is meant to be, a Japanese fun time game meant to be played one-handed. Like I said, I like to have higher frame rate, but since this is a game meant to be played one-handed, It's technically not necessary, especially if you do the deed with one of the characters. All the other characters and whatnot will be deloaded, and it'll just be you and that one character you're doing the deed with. But still, this thing's handling it like a champ. And temperature wise, it's definitely hot. And let's see where it maxed out at. 210 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hot. But even still, with it past the TDP point of the APU, the laptop is still chugging along without an issue. And of course, right before I go to finish this video, I start having little chug issues, but that's to be expected. But like I said, this game is handling itself. Oh, not game. This computer is handling itself just fine. So, like I said, I don't know what the cause of the issue is. The only thing I could think of that could be causing these issues has to do with something with the way Dell implemented the BIOS, and there needs to be a BIOS revision to kind of keep this computer in check. That's the only thing I could think of that could resolve this issue. And yes, this computer is fully up to date. Give me a second. If I go to AMD's little Catalyst system, or little Catalyst software, or Radeon software, and go to here, you can see that everything's up to date. And if I go to HP's little support assistant, oh, right when I was about to pause too, and check for updates. Everything's up to date. Now I would do a check for updates on Windows 10 via the update right here, but if I do that, the Windows 10 updates will roll back to the basic GPU driver for this computer, and then I have to go through the whole process of DDUing the computer and reinstalling the proper driver again. So I have Windows 10 updates paused for 30 days. So like every 25 days or so, I just go to here, I go to advanced, and I just scroll all the way down as far as I can to have it so I can not have an update on this thing and roll back to the shitty basic driver. So with that said, I'm again at a loss. You clearly see this thing handling itself just fine after a while, because something may have just eventually figured itself out. Again, I don't know. Like I said, the only thing I could think of is something has to do with the BIOS and the way Dell implements the power and whatnot. So with that said, if you can stop watching here. But if you're interested in seeing what this game, if you're interested in seeing what AI Girls is supposed to look like when it's actually run on proper hardware, I will have that in there in the video also, and I'll be doing in-game recording on my main desktop. Though I won't have any voiceover due to the fact that I don't have a mic.